Hey guys, hey, have you ever wondered what your kayak would look like with lights? You know, maybe enough lights to do some night fishing and also keep you safe on the water at the same time? Well, how would you like to take your kayak from this to this? If you do, you're going to want to stick around for the rest of this video. Hey guys, welcome back to Crooked Hooks Fishing. My name is Alan, and thanks so much for taking the time to tune into the video today. As from the intro, it looks like we're doing a thing. Yeah, there's a lot of parts. There's a lot going on here. I've got electrical quick connectors. I've got a multitude of wire. And if I don't have enough wire, I've got another roll of wire. Junction boxes, red, green, and white LED lights, rocker panel, shrink tube, quick DC connectors, USB ports with USB-C and USB quick charge, and some wire connectors. Wire holders. So what I'm doing is we are going to be lighting all the way from the back, all the way up through the hull, right up to the stern with LEDs. Down here, we have got a 20,000 lumen light bar. So yeah, this thing's bright. I'll be able to illuminate the entire bank with this. I'm setting it up for safety reasons and for night fishing reasons. I want to be able to capitalize not only on the daytime but the nighttime too as well. But this is going to take a lot of planning. I've just cleaned the boat out, gave it a good vacuum and wipe down, and we'll have to see how it goes. I've got tools and connectors at the ready over here. Sorry about the lighting, guys. I do have a spot on. I do have whiskey, because boy oh boy, I'm gonna need whiskey to drill a hole in a perfectly good boat. I got to get everything laid out to make sure that it's all going to fit properly, and I will see you back here in a second. Okay, so it looks like I got everything laid out. Turns out I had more than enough wire. As you can tell, there's a whole nest of wire down there, so I'm not going to need the second roll, but hey, it's like a shotgun, right? It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So, you know, be ready instead of having to get ready. So at the front, I'm going to have my port and my starboard red lights. Those will be mounted into the hull here. This is the circuit that's going to be controlling all of the LEDs. Then I have the white lights, and I'll have 8 of these inside the hull. And this is the white lights here. And I am going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't need to put any lights back here, because really I don't really need anything illuminated, because my black pack takes up everything over here. And then I'm going to have the same number of lights on this side as well. I then have my waterproof USB-C 3 and Type-C connector. That is going to get mounted right through here. This is going to run on a separate circuit. And I also have another USB that's going to be on a mounting plate right here. So I'm going to have 2 USBs, one at the front, one at the back. That should be able to power my cameras from the battery that's going to be up in the front hatch. Then there's going to be the light bar, which is going to go here, and it's going to raise about 3 inches off deck so it doesn't interfere with my latches. And that will have a hole drilled here with a watertight seal to run the power in there. Now, how am I going to connect all the power? Good question. So all the power is going to be run through these little guys. These little guys are going to be mounted inside the hull at the front, which in turn is going to run to my rocker panel. So I've got these waterproof switches. One is going to be for my hull lights, one will be for the light bar, and one will be for the USBs. So I can power them down when I'm not needing them. These little things are great because my power in will go in the top. So I just have to unclick it, stick the wire in, and click it down. Then that will split to 4 separate circuits. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will have the hull lighting, the light bar, the USBs, and the fourth one I'll be reserving for the Garmin. And the Garmin will have a direct link to here. Off of these, I will be attaching these. And the reason I'm going to attach these is these are 12 volt rated, and it's male and female DC connectors. So instead of having to screw around flipping the switches on those, I will have all of my wire rigs to have one of these, and the female will be connected to these. So whenever I want to disconnect or connect anything, I just have to pop these two together, and there we go. They're connected, ready to go. And then when I need to remove anything, or if I need to remove anything, all I have to do is pop the connector off. We're good to go. I can redo the wiring or whatever it is, and then resolder the end of this onto the whole line, and it will be good to go. These will be holding the wires up so that they're not flopping all over the place. But I think we're in good shape. In the meantime, I am going to remove my seat panels so that I can have full access to the sidewalls here. And I think that's going to be our starting point, and then we'll start measuring off where I actually have to drill a hole in my boat. Oh, that's gonna suck. Okay, so we've plotted out where all of our lights are gonna go. Instead of trying to measure off each individual mark, see a little dot there, what I did is I made this little template with a hole, and that way I could place it flush with the bottom of the deck. So that way I know each hole is going to be the same all the way across. I got my holes marked for my stern and for my bow. So the only thing left to do, oh God, I have to drill pilot holes into my brand new boat. Oh man, this is really gonna suck, but here we go. Alrighty. Oh, there's a hole in my boat. Oh, there's a hole in my boat. Oh, yeah. To anyone who's done this, I feel for you, because oh my God, this is terrible. now I've got 14 holes in my boat. And I have to get a bigger drill bit and make those 14 holes bigger. What am I doing? Well, no turning back now. There's 14 3/4-inch holes in my boat. Oh, I forgot to. Oh. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to take my bottom drive off to get these other 2 holes. Well, almost lost the drill bit. One thing I will point out, guys, if you're going to remove any part of your kayak, as far as the bolts or anything like that, you'll notice that there's little brass threaded screw seats that go down so that the screws can bite into something. Do not over tighten your bolts. If you over tighten your bolts, you run the risk of spinning these little seats around and they'll rip out of the boat. So do not over tighten the bolts. Just make sure they're firm and snug and leave it at that. Don't think that they have to be tightened down to like mock Jesus so that it doesn't go anywhere. I just did a simple tighten with one little extra push and that's all it needs, okay? Right now, I'm gonna clean up the boat and I will catch you in a sec. All right, so holes are drilled, everything is cleaned up. I've got my lights ready to go. I've test fit one of the lights. They fit perfectly. I will be sealing them with marine goop after so that no extra water gets in. The rocker panel and everything I'm going to cut afterwards. I'm just kind of focused on the lights right now. Now I do have to run this wire all the way around the boat. I am not going to film that because it's going to be an absolute disaster. Let's just say it involves 60 feet of wire, a flexible tent pole to reach all the way down here, and probably the help of my wife and kids. So once I get it actually, the wire run all the way through the hull of the boat, we will be back so I can show you how I'm going to install the lights. Hey guys, a little tip when you're running the wires through your hull. As you see, I've started running the wires through here, coming out the hole here, but then I want it to go back into the hole because I'm going to be tapping into the side of the wire to connect the lights on. So I'll have the black to the black and the red to the red. Now the green's not going here, obviously, but when you're running it through, you want to leave yourself a loop out here so that you can work on the thing. But if anyone is like me, I get a little overzealous on my yanking. So what I did, little pro tip, I just took a pencil and taped it to the side of the boat, and I have my loop here. So if I accidentally try and pull too much cord, it gets stuck on the pencil. So I will always have something to work with right here. Trust me, it'll save you a lot of frustration. All right, guys, here's what it looks like when it's prepared. There's a whole lot of pencils. You know, you can use whatever you want to hold the wires in. Here, I'll get a close-up on one of them. You can use whatever you want to hold the wires. You know, it's not a big deal. I just happen to have a lot of pens and pencils and a copious amount of masking tape. You know, if you want to go out and buy expensive electrician clips and God knows what else, hey, more power to you. But I'm a big proponent of free. So, pencils I had lying around. So, it's all good. So, I've got all that wired in. I've got the loops now available to work with so that I can attach the lights using the clips, and I'll show you the cool little way I'm going to be doing that. But right now it's after midnight, so I'm going to call it a day, and I will see you guys where we pick up. Hey guys, welcome back to day 3 of the boat mod. I've got all my comfy clothes on, and tonight, as we saw from where I left off, I've got all the little loops. Now what I have to do is all my lights I have to tap into the positive and the negative using these. Now, a lot of people would just strip the wire and solder it. I'm not about that. It leaves too many possibilities for error, and you know, cutting a wire here and trimming a wire there and then heat around the boat. I'm just not big on that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to pull out my handy little electrical kit, and all my negatives on the LEDs are going to get one of these, and all the positives on the LEDs are going to get one of these. So I'll have my negative and my positive. Then I'm going to take these little clips, and you can buy these in bulk, and you'll see, well, I was hoping you'd see, I don't know, it's just a little wire groove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my strippers here. Let me see if I can't clamp this light down. Ooh, yeah, look at that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my strippers, I'm going to open this wire up, and then I'll expose the wire on the negative and expose the wire on the positive, but I'm not going to cut the wire, because then I can just clamp this little clip on the wire. That will close. Here, I'll close one just to, oh, my camera's flipping here. So that will clamp onto the wire, and it snaps down. So now that's clamped and created a junction point on the wire. And then these little doohickeys here will plug straight. If I can get it, there it goes. That'll plug straight on and create a junction. So that way I don't have to solder any of this stuff. It'll just all be in there. Now you see how the tab is visible there? I don't want that. What you want I'm going to just get a tool here. Getting tools. We're back. So I'm just going to lift that up a little bit. There. So I lifted the tab up inside a little bit, because you want the tab to go in that little slot. So I'm going to line up my tab on my slot there. See how it's going in now? That is touching the metal connector inside. So now I've created the circuit there. That will tap onto the wire, this being the negative. I will crimp this onto here, crimp the red one onto the thing, and then I can just tap these wires straight onto here without having to use any solder. But I'm not going to bore you with the process of me putting a blue and a red on every single one of these. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back and we'll show you how to splice them onto the actual circuit. All right, I got all of my LEDs, all with their positive and negative couplers on. So now, what we need to do is we need to attach these couplers, if I can get this to stand up straight, to the wires here. I'm going to try and get the camera to stand up a little bit straighter. This is about as close as I can get, so I can have both hands free. So the couplers we're going to use, it's just these little couplers here. One for the negative, one for the positive. And what these are going to do is they're going to clamp right onto the wires, both wires, so that I can start making the circuit for all of the lights. And I forgot my knife, because you need a knife, and you need, so thanks for this, you're just going to need a knife or a blade, and you're going to need your wire strippers. So what you want to do, you just want to get in between the two wires. Yeah, I'm good at this, eh? You do not want to cut into the casing, and you do not want to cut the wire. So the sharper your knife, the better the result is going to be. I'm going to steal the pencil out of here. I'm just going to push the pencil through just to split the wires so that I can take them apart. So now I've got my wires separated. I'm going to put this bad boy back because I know I'll screw that up somehow. And this thing will disappear into the inside of the boat, and that'll be the end of it. Then it'll be a tutorial on how to get a pencil out of a boat. Alright, so I have my two couplers here. I'm going to take my wire strippers, and I've already, on a spare piece of wire, I already pre-measured the depth. So I just cut the casing on the wire, and I'm just exposing the bare wire inside. And I didn't cut it all the way. So we'll go back to the same depth, and we'll cut her again. We'll just give her a little tug. You know, this was working absolutely fine when I did it on my workbench, but there's this one little piece of plastic that doesn't want to come off. There we go. The wire is exposed, and that is my negative. So I'm going to take my little coupler, and I'm going to thread the exposed wire into the slot on the coupler. So now that's making a contact point, and I'll be able to close that. Make sure I hear the little snap, and I now have a junction on that wire. I'm going to do the same with the positive. There we go. That one cut all the way through. Take my coupler. Push the exposed wire into there. Oh, this one's being difficult. Being difficult. Push it down. I'm using the back of the knife, not the blade. I'm not an idiot. There we go. It's all the way down in there now. Close it. And snap it. So now I have 2 junction points to this wire, which means this light, I can now make sure my tab is adjusted so it's sitting up in the middle, because I want these tabs to go flush down the hole in the side of the coupler. So there's a slot here in the coupler, and I'm just going to run that tab right into there. I'm going to do the same for the negative. Run that tab right into there, and now that LED is attached and we're good to go. So I'm going to go around, do the rest of these, and we'll go from there. All right, we've got all of our lights connected all the way down, all the way across. I've got my port and stern lights connected, and I have my tail lights connected. Now, will it work? This is kind of the bitter part, because I want to make sure that I hooked everything up correctly and that these little clips are as easy as they say they are. So I've got the battery hooked up. I got a temporary line. Let me just tighten this up so I can get her in the little hole in the top. And God willing, there will be light. Oh man. All right, so as we can see, we have port and stern. We have one, two, three, four, and both taillights. Holy crap, everything worked. Victory is mine. Now I can still screw up the switch, which is what we're going to be mounting next. All right, time to put some more holes in the boat. So we're going to be adding the rocker switch. So my rocker panel actually uses a three-prong system, because the panel itself lights up as well. It's this little rocker panel here. 3 LEDs. One will control the hull lights. One will control the bar light, and one is going to be controlling the USB ports. The Garmin will have a direct line with a quick connect just to hook up, because there's no sense in having a power switch for that. But in order to do that, the rocker panel is going to be mounted down here. Because it was a nice flat surface, allows me to just lean forward, turn on whatever I need to, and in a pinch I can just use my foot. Stays out of the way of the pedals. I mean, we should be fine. So I figure if that thing can jut out that far and not get impeded by the pedals, then this thing flush up against the thing is not going to make too much of a difference. But in order to do that, I have to drill a big old hole in the stinking boat again. I'm currently coming to terms with the fact that this is just a whole bunch of holes going in your boat. There. We'll try that. That'll work. Pardon my shoddy basement, but it's a work in progress. So we're gonna get the holes drilled. There we go. Holes are drilled. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a hacksaw and my Dremel. I'm just going to clean this up. And we'll have a nice length hole for all three switches. All right, we're looking good here, guys. Sorry about the noise in the background. I didn't have time to go and turn my tablet off. But I do have this drilled out now. So that fits in nice and flush. It'll be secured with 3 screws or 4 screws and a whole bunch of goop. You know, the old adage with that less is more. Guys, when it comes to goop, more is more. Make sure everything that you're adding onto your boat is 100% waterproof and watertight. So this is going to have a copious amount of goop on it, screwed in, and I can now look at the wiring for the switch. All right, so with the hole drilled, I had to cut some extra pieces of wire to make my rocker switch assembly. So what we've got is the rocker switch. This is the one that's going to be running the hull lights. So on a 3-prong rocker switch, because this has an LED light, it's going to need a source of power. So on the top of the rocker switch, you have your negative coming from the battery. The middle of the rocker switch is the positive coming from the battery. The bottom is the power of whatever you're trying to power up. So this is the positive to the light string itself. And the negative of the light string is connected to the negative of the power, because that's just going to act as a ground. So what I'm going to do is now attach temporarily the negative to the negative and the power to there. And as you can see, I have no lights, but hopefully when I flick this switch and I put it on the wrong one, it should be on this one, but I've got it hooked up to this one, so I can change that. This LED should turn on, and so should all of my lights. Here we go. Son of a... Alright, so it turns out that I not only had it on the wrong switch, I had it on the wrong connectors. Always connect your power one to the brass one. So your negative from the battery, positive from the battery, and then the positive to your light string. And if I did this right, this blue LED should light up, and so should my boat. Oh ho 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 ho. Boop, 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 boop. Nice. I'm an electrical genius. Well, it's day something. Now we know that our lights work. Woo, woo. We can move on to putting in a power supply into the boat, or sorry, power chargers into the boat, in the form of these guys. So here we've got a USB-C and a USB 3.0 quick charge. So these will be going one back here at the back by the seat, and one up here by my power input, so that I have a charger up front too. So these are both waterproof and weather resistant. This is only a 2-prong connection going to the power, but in order to get the LED lit up, we've got to do the 3-prong setup on the switch. So basically we got to follow the same instructions that we did with the LED lights. We've got to make sure to hook up the rocker in the proper way. But first, I have to drill 2 holes for this this USB port. So drilling more holes in the perfectly good boat. Great. Well, that sucked. So now I've got to round these holes out just a little bit bigger so that they will take the USBs, because as it stands right now, the USBs don't fit. So I'm just going to have to sand those out with a Dremel, and we'll get back to it once that's done. Ugh. Well, I was going to round out the holes like I said, but I realized it's like 11 o'clock at night and that is really, really loud. So I'm just going straight to the wiring, and I'll round out the holes tomorrow. Once I have the wires cut to the right length, I can just pop them in and out and round out the holes as need be. So we'll go ahead and we'll just get these spliced up so that we can get them attached and good to go. Now that I've got all of that done, I should be able to turn on my switch. Middle lights up. USB port is lit. USB port is lit. And these were touted as being fast charge. USB 3.0. So why don't we test that? Open it up. Give me a sec. That dumb thing. Phone goes, and USB fast charging. So we've got fast charging USB-C ports and now working fast charging USB 3.0 ports. So I should actually be able to run my cameras without batteries. I should be able to use the onboard battery, which is fantastic when I run out of small batteries. I can just plug right into either of these USB ports and I can power all of my video equipment right off the hop. Okay, step number 50 something. I haven't got around to grinding out the holes for the USB ports yet. I was busy most of the day and it's a little too late at night to go ahead and grind the holes. But it is not too late to go ahead and put on my LED light bar. This light bar is an all-weather, all-purpose light bar. I think they designed it to go slide into the ridge of a Jeep, but it's waterproof and it is like 20,000 lumens. I should be able to light up the bank from about 500 yards away. Overkill? Maybe. Do I still want it on the boat? Heck yeah. So, you know, they say go big or go home. I mean, if I'm going to put a light out on it, I might as well be the finger of God. So, basically, this has a centering bolt. So, that's dead center of the light. And I'm going to line it up with the center ridge of the boat. I'm going to be eyeballing this. And just putting the light roughly to where I want it. And then I will mark the two little steps that I've made here, just out of some old TV stand spacers and some rubber washers and some 3/8" carriage bolts. And those are going to go right in there. Now I wanted it high enough to make sure that I'm not interfering with this. I don't mind if this comes up a little bit into the light beam. I mean, I can always get longer bolts later. This is what I've got right now, and I just want to kind of get it on the boat. So it will sink down about 1/2 inch lower, but that's okay. So I'm going to go ahead and eyeball that and see where we're going to be drilling here. I just need to get a marker right here. Okay, so now that I got those marks on there, now I'm going to pull out the rulers, make sure that they're flush, make sure that there's the same distance away from the wall here, so that it's straight and it's not kind of at an angle or anything like that. So I'm just going to pull out my ruler or my square, and I'm just going to go from there. This part here is actually relatively square, so I will just place it up against here, and then I will make sure that I am the proper distance. So there, so those are lined up now. I can get rid of this old mark because I was about 2/8 of an inch off on this side. So now I know that it's going to go in straight, so I can drill my 2 pilot holes. Which I might add, I'm not a fan of. That's all I'm saying. Little pro tip. Well, not really a pro tip. This is just kind of more of a tip, because I am no pro. This stuff is really slippery, and your drill bit likes to skate on it. So if you want your hole to go where you want it to go, use a punch and start your hole. What this does is it lets the drill bit tip, start in the proper spot, and not have it skip across, scratch your boat, start drilling, you know, 3/8 of an inch off, and you end up with something crooked. Just get it straight, get it done. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to make sure that this bolt goes in. All right, perfect. And that's that, boys. That's all she wrote. So now we're going to go in here. I'm going to dry fit this. You notice I have not drilled a hole for the cord yet, because I do have a 5/16 rubber washer here, and I want to make sure that the washer will fit over this plastic, and it doesn't look like it's going to. But what I'm going to do in that case is I'm going to trim the bottom skirt off the rubber washer. And I will, once I have everything mounted and that down, I will seal that with goop and then put the rubber washer into the goop. So that way everything is good. Now, I just want to dry fit this before I bust out the goop. And that's about as sturdy as I could have hoped for. She's right in the middle. And she is above both blocks. So that's going to beam out straight across the front of the boat. And that is badass looking. That is super cool. Another thing too as well, when you do travel with these, the one thing that I would suggest is getting something to cover up your lens so that it doesn't get bugs all over it. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to leave enough cord out of the back here so that when I'm traveling, I can turn it backwards, and that way it doesn't start collecting dirt and all of that other fun stuff. So now that I've got that, I'm quite confident that I can secure this down. Okay, it's got my hardware. Now before I goop this around the rim, I'm going to take this little grinding stone and I'm just going to score up the edges of the hole. The reason you do this is that it gives the goop something to grab a hold of, so it makes for a tighter seal. A lot of people don't consider that, and you can end up having a leak. Now when it comes to goop, the old saying of less is more does not apply. More is more. You can always trim the excess off later. Get a healthy amount of this stuff down. Make sure that whatever you're sealing is going to remain sealed. There we go. Healthy amount of goop on there. There we go. When no chamois available, a Home Depot receipt works just as well. All right, that's in there. That's in there. And I can see the goop oozing out from the sides all the way around. There isn't an empty spot there. That's what I want to see. I do not want to see, you know, goop only coming out one side, or, you know, a dry area around the rim of this washer. I want this sealed. So to secure it on the bottom, I just have a regular flat washer, a lock washer, and the nut. And I need a light. These little things are not just for your backpack. Toss that right in there, baby. And I'll just tighten her up. That is secure. That is golden. Look at that, boys. That's looking pretty hot. Pretty hot, gotta say. So I think what I'll do is I'll just run the cord right through here. Yeah, I'm probably going to run it right here, just on the back side, so it goes straight in. That way I can move it around if I need to. But before I do that, I have to take this rubber washer off and I have to trim the bottom off. All right, so I've trimmed the bottom off that washer. So it's just got the top part now. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this will inset into the hole that I drill and keep a watertight seal around that wire. It's a lot smaller. The rubber washers you can just get at Home Depot. They got a whole bunch of sizes. I like them because you don't have to drill a 1-inch hole for a through hull wiring kit. The wiring kits require you to drive a 1-inch hole, and then they have the little covers. Well, it's not measured to the wire, and it's not like if you have really thin wires, you've still got an exposed hole in your boat. I much rather use these, make the correct size hole, and just call it a day. So I'm going to go get my 5/16 drill bit, and I'm going to put the hole for this power cord right here. It's really hard to see. And there we go. That's it. That's all there is to it. So I'm going to need to extend this and this for these so that I can go to the switch assembly. And that I'm just going to do a wire wrap, and then I'm going to shrink tube it with some shrink tube and a torch. We will cut off a length here so that we can run these to where they need to go. There we go. So there's my positive and negative extensions. So I now have my extensions, so that's good. So the positive is going to go in here, and it's going to run to my third switch. Now I need to make a positive and negative to run from the power source to the switch. So should I have done this correctly, when this switch goes on, so should this.
Clear! Damn it!
Oh, baby. Look at that, boys. Now that throws a beam. That's throwing a beam. That's beaming. Close that down. Let's go turn off the lights in here. See how she looks. Holy fart. That thing is just insanely bright. That's lighting up. I mean, that's lighting up my entire basement. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. So now all we got to do is button up the holes, button up the wires, seal everything, and we'll be good. All right, guys, we're on the home stretch. So what we've got now, you'll notice that there's some additions to the boat. So we've got the Garmin set up here with the power cord running into the port. That's the standard port that comes with the Coosa FD. And you just drill out the hole there and you just run your cord in. You'll notice there's a lot less in the boat. And the reason being is we're going to be using a hell of a lot of goop coming up in the next section here. And when I say we're going to use a hell of a lot of goop, we are going to use an absolute filthy amount of goop, because we want every single one of these lights, every single one of these rocker switches and panels and USBs and all that stuff to be completely watertight. We do not want anything going in there. So I've got my Garmin mounted where I usually have it mounted. I've got the power cord running in there. Now at this point, I could go ahead and start gooping in and clipping in all of these lights. I am not going to do that, and I'm going to tell you why. We're going to assemble the whole master circuit first. The reason we're going to assemble the whole master circuit first is we want to make sure everything is working prior to gooping everything down. Because if something is not working and I have to make a change, it's going to be really, really, really difficult to get these lights out, get whatever out that needs to come out when it's sealed in there with goop. And I do not want to do that. Little handyman's tip, you'll notice that the boat is very clean now. I've been doing a lot of drilling, a lot of sanding, a lot of everything, and that leaves all the little tailings and all of that stuff from the drill bits and the sanding bits and everything. Vacuum out your boat at this point. When I say you're going to be using a lot of goop, you're using a lot of goop. And if you have debris and small things in there, it could stick to the goop, and best case scenario, you'll have bumpy goop. Worst case scenario is that it's going to impede in the waterproofing if something gets lodged under one of the light seams or anything like that, and water could run in. We don't want that. So I have had to make a modification to the power cord for the Garmin, and I'm going to show you what. These are the stock clips for the Garmin, and they fit the battery perfectly. So I wanted to repurpose these. I wanted to make sure that these are going to be what I use to connect to the battery. As you can see, I've connected those just using a couple little wire joiners and some heat shrink tubing to just a straight cord with two tied off ends. This is going to be my main power source into those two little clips. Now there's a temporary cord in there, but this new cord is going to go here. In fact, we'll take that cord out and we'll put the new one in. So that way you can see exactly why I'm doing this. Now the reason I'm doing this, now it looks like a bird's nest in here, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it should look like a bird's nest in here right now, because you don't want to button everything up. Again, you do not want to button everything up until you know it's working properly. So these will be mounted up on the gun wall. Let me just bring this in here. So these are going to be mounted up to here to keep them out of the way. So they're going to be up there, and I'm just going to use double-sided Gorilla Tape to put those up there. They do have screw mounts and stuff like that, but I'd rather not have screws going out of the hull, because it's unattractive, and two, creates hazards. You have sharp edges and stuff like that. I'm sure you can use a bolt system if you want, but it's just one more hole in the boat, and I really don't want to do that. So double-sided tape works just well, especially when it's Gorilla Tape, and that way if I do have to make any changes or take it off, I can just pry it off. So again, we're connecting the new power cord. There we go. And that's all it is. These little clips are fantastic. I think I picked these up off of Temu for like $1. So there's my positives, there's my negatives. Those will be mounted up. Now, the modification that I made to the Garmin power cord. The Garmin power cord now has, instead of the two clips, the Garmin power cord now has a 12-volt DC male push pin, which means I can run this power cord in and just plug it directly in without having to screw around with the wire couplers. And again, I think I picked these up off of Temu as well. Here is the female side. female side is going to go into the last empty clip that I have in my setup. So that's in. And that's in. So now I have my entire circuit done. Here's my, this is how easy it'll be for me to plug in my Garmin now. I just take this piece, plug it in, and we're good to go. It's as simple as that. And this is the power cord going to the battery. So now that we have all that hooked up, we are going to get the battery. Let me just go and grab the battery. Okay. Ow. And it's as simple as connecting positive and negative. Everything should have power now, with the exception of the USB ports, because I do have the USB ports unhooked at the moment. Let me just pop these bad boys up. I did drill out the bases on them, so I do have the proper size for both of these now. So I'm just getting my USB cords here. You guys see that? There we go. I got my USB cords here. So we're going, where's the positive? Positive here, negative here. Okay, there's the one. I did have to put the retaining ring that you screw into the back of the USB cords over the wires to make sure that they're all done. So this is hooked up now. Front one is hooked up now. Everything should be hooked up now. So now is the power test. Just to make sure everything goes on, everything's buttoned up, and that the Garmin turns on. Because I want to make sure that this is going with the addition of all of this. So first test is hull lights. Hull lights are good. Second test is the bar light. That thing is the finger of God. I love it. Thirdly, USBs. USBs are powered on and powered on. And lastly, if my little system worked, this should fire right up. Oh, hell yeah. So we can get into popping everything into their appropriate holes. Sweet. All right, pilot holes are done. Now it's time just to goop everything up. I'm going to start at the back of the boat and I'm going to work my way all the way to the front. And God willing, this gets done. So all the lights are now buttoned down. They're looking nice and clean. Everything is where it's supposed to be and everything is still lit. So we're golden. So that's good. Now we're going to move on to the rocker panels and make sure that those get properly gooped and sealed in. Now you can see the rocker panel. Here we go. Now this is where I'm going to be very generous with the goop. Like, I mean stupid generous. And don't worry about getting extra goop on stuff, guys, because goop you can just rub off and trim off using just an X-Acto knife or anything. Just You know, make sure your boat's waterproof, guys. Functional first, aesthetics later. You can always clean afterwards. Okay, I've got a metric crap ton on there. So we're going to feed our wires back through. And we're just going to push that into place. And then I am actually running a bead of goop around the edges. So I want all those edges sealed. And then I'm going to go over each of the screw holes and put some goop in the screw holes. Don't worry about getting it on your switches or anything like that. Like I said, it rubs right off when it's dry. Clean it up after. There we go. Now I can get my screwdriver and put my screws in. And that is it. Well, guys, it's all done. We've got it all buttoned up, all of the lights cleaned up, all of the extra goop taken care of. So really, all that's left to do is to roll that sweet, sweet glamour footage. In all seriousness, guys, this was a great project to do. It certainly took the itch away from not being able to fish open water and on the kayak. But knowing that I'm going to be out to go ahead and do some night fishing and be safe and be able to see my gear in the kayak is just awesome. And it looks good. It feels really great to do it. And honestly, if you've thought about doing this yourself, give it a try. Just do your research first. Make sure that you have all the components that you're going to need. I always say to be ready instead of getting ready. So have everything you need right away. Hopefully, the steps that I put through, I didn't lay it's not done up professionally or anything like that. Right now the wires inside the kayak are still a bird's nest, but I'll be cleaning those up with the little interior clips and stuff soon enough. But it's very very self-satisfying, and when you take the time to do it right, the feeling that you get from improving your experience on the water and improving your time on the water is worth more than the amount of effort that you put into it. So if you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up on there. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. I'm just a small channel. This is just a little passion project. And For those of you that have subscribed, I can't thank you more. Can't thank you enough. And hopefully you'll share this video with anyone who might be thinking of doing a customization of this size to their kayak. Again, go ahead and share the video, and I hope you got something out of it. And until the next one, keep your heads above the water. Have a good one.